And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Baseball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it is great to have you guys here on this Wednesday morning. We got a lot to talk about on today's show, as we normally do. To start off the show, like I always do, before we get into the rundown, to donate for donations and tips for the show, make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip, and it really helps the show and it helps get your comments recognized. And also to subscribe to the Patreon, go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network, and that's where you can get bonus coverage materials that are not covered by this broadcast. So, like I said, we have a lot to talk about on today's show. Starting off the show like we normally do, we'll talk about the latest news and headlines around the league. Then we are going to get into the National League playoff picture, but we're going to highlight the Braves and Cubs game from last night because that was a very crazy game, and that's going to be the headliner for that segment. Then in the third segment, we are going to headline the Mariners and the Astros, and then get into the other scores revolving the American League playoff picture. And then we're going to preview the games that are on tonight as those series continue. So we got a lot to cover, so let's get right into the first segment, which is talking about the latest news and headlines around Major League Baseball. Now, the biggest headline yesterday, Orioles legend Brooks Robinson passed away at the age of 86. He spent his entire 23-year career with the Orioles, and he was known as Mr. Oriole. So a big loss for baseball, and my heart goes out to the Orioles family and his family as well. He won 2 World Series championships. He was the 1964 American League MVP, and he had 16 consecutive Gold Glove awards at third base. And actually, before I go a little bit further, I just want to pull up his stats from Baseball Reference. I wanted to get his full profile on the screen, but I was having trouble with that. But yeah, with this career, over 2,800 hits, 268 home runs, 267 batting average, the WAR as well, as you can see on the screen. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1983, and he became the first third baseman to be elected in his first year of eligibility. So that's very impressive. One of his nicknames was the Human Vacuum Cleaner due to his exceptional defensive skills at third base. And he won 16 Gold Gloves, the most by any non-pitcher in baseball history, and tied for the second most by any player. His playing career began in 1955 when he signed with the Orioles at the age of 18. So yeah, he got into the league at a very young age. I mean, you see some of the guys, over the course of the last 10 years. I mean, you have, Bryce Harper came up at an early age. You had, Jason Dominguez came up this year at a very early age. You're seeing that a lot over the course of the last. I mean, those are 2 examples I can think of off the top of my head. But, getting up here at age 18 is crazy to think about. And yeah, all-star selections, Gold Glove awards, like I said. He played a crucial role in the Orioles winning the championship in 1966 and 1970, and earning the MVP of the 1970 World Series. He eventually retired as a player coach in 1977. He was involved in broadcasting with the Orioles from 1978 to 1992. Yeah, and he dealt with, he had some health challenges later in life, including prostate cancer and other injuries. Because this was an article that I was looking at last night. But yeah, so a tragic loss for the Orioles and their fan base, a legend. Yeah, and it's I like his nickname though, the Human Vacuum Cleaner. I think that's a cool nickname to have as a baseball player. But yeah, he played. Going from, let's say, around 1960 to 1970, 1975. I mean, he pretty much played in every single game. He was a guy that played every day. His best season, it looks like it was 1964. He had 28 home runs, 118 RBIs, batted .317, and that was playing in 163 games. So that was his best season. But yeah, just again, heart goes out to the family and the Orioles organization as well. Yeah, so, but that's basically the main headline for today. Is the passing of Brooks Robinson. So he will be missed, and yeah. So, but yeah, that's the main headline for this segment. So in other news, we'll move on from that. The Phillies, they clinched a playoff spot last night. Second straight playoff appearance for them. And Trey Turner was interviewed after the game, and he was, thanking the fans for the season, and basically saying, hey, we're gonna have playoff games here in the first round at least. So, have him come bring it. And I think Trey Turner a lot was kind of pressure was taken off of him when you had the Phillies fans supporting him during his rough stretch, and he's been playing better as of late. So, the Phillies, they're going to be a team that nobody's really going to want to play against in the playoffs, because, hey, they upset the Braves last year. I keep talking about that. And, they got a very good lineup. They got good starting pitching. So, they could beat anybody. But I know the teams, obviously the top two teams, the Dodgers and the Braves, it's going to be challenging, but the Phillies definitely a team that's going to be a tough out for this postseason. The Brewers, so they ended up losing last night, I believe, and they lost 4-1 to the Cardinals, but they ended up clinching the NL Central anyways because the Cubs ended up losing, which we will get into in the next segment. And yeah, that's another team that's going to be a tough out too, based on their starting pitching with Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff at the top. The lineup is good, but that's really kind of been the problem with the Brewers is their lineup kind of is non-existent in the postseason. They have trouble scoring runs, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. They're going to be going up against either, as of right now, it's either going to be the Cubs, the Reds, or the Marlins at the moment. The Diamondbacks, they got back on track last night. They picked up a win. So they're still in that second wild card spot. But right now, it's the Brewers and the Cubs if the playoffs started today. But we're getting closer. So, so two more playoff spots were, at least two more teams clinched their playoff spots. So, Mariners, they picked up a win against the Astros, and we'll get into more of that in the third segment. And that's huge because they were on a 4-game losing streak. Getting swept by the Rangers, and then losing the first game to the Astros the other night. So, that's good for them. But and then you have, that's pretty much it when it comes to the headlines. The Blue Jays, they lost a tough game last night to the Yankees, and we'll get into that as well. Also, Adam Wainwright. So he. Basically, that was his last start. His 200th win was his last start. He's not going to pitch again, and I think that's good because you want your last moment to be, being in front of the home fans, and especially picking up your 200th win. So I have no problem with that. Mariano Rivera did the same thing. His last pitching appearance was at Yankee Stadium. So, he doesn't, and especially, Wainwright picked up his 200th win. Again, in front of the home crowd, it can't get any better than that. So you kind of want your last moment to be that, and so he's going to go out on top like that, which is, it's again, I touched upon this. It's sad that some of these guys are, we're losing a couple of players to retirement. Wainwright being one of them. Also, Miguel Cabrera, he'll be finishing up his, final homestand, and his career stats at Comerica Park, and this is from, not yesterday. Well, this was posted I think yesterday, before last night. But he has a 319 bat. He had a 319 batting average, 190 home runs, 702 RBIs, and a 932 OPS at Comerica Park. And I've talked about this before. Miguel Cabrera from 2012 to 2013 was the best player in baseball at that point. He was always beating. Well, he beat out Mike Trout for MVP. He had the Triple Crown. I mean, he was amazing in those 2 years. And it's unfortunate that the Tigers weren't able to win a championship in those 2 years because, he deserves that. But he was on that Marlins team that came back against the Cubs, which is kind of funny because you really got to think about that. You're like, oh yeah, he was on that team. You forget that he played for the Marlins. The whole time I've been watching baseball, he was on the Tigers, but he was on that Marlins team all those years ago. I think as a rookie, I want to say, when they won that World Series in 2003. But yeah, from 2012 to 2013, he was the best hitter on the planet, and it was incredible. And it just stinks because over time, injuries kind of caught up to him, age, and now, he's retiring. I mean, he's been okay. I mean, the power numbers are not even close to what they used to be. I think he has a couple of home runs, but yeah, but he still looks like the batting stance are the same. It's just he got older, and it's just it's just unfortunate that he's retiring, but it was going to happen eventually, and it's going to happen to everybody eventually too. So, but yeah, let's kind of look at his stat. Yeah, he's got 3 home runs, 31 RBIs, 250 batting average, 644 OPS. I mean, he doesn't play every day. He's played in 94 games this year. I mean, the power numbers they just disappeared. Last year he only had 5 home runs, and that was in 112 games. But yeah, his last really good year was 2016. 38 home runs, 108 RBIs, batted 316, 956 OPS. That was his last really good year. But yeah, I mean, he's 40 years old. I mean, that's it happens. So but yeah, this is gonna be it for Miggy in Comerica Park. So hopefully he can at least hit one more home run. To give the fans one last thing to cheer about before he goes. So I mean, they're playing against the Royals, so you would think maybe he can hit one. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, another player that it's coming to an end. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the headlines. In the next segment, we are going to talk about obviously what happened in Atlanta last night between the Braves and the Cubs. That'll be the headliner for the segment. I think that's probably what I'm going to try doing for the rest of the week is I highlight the more important games and then go into the rest of the games from the respective league after that. So we'll get into the rest of the National League scores after that. Same thing with the American League segment. We'll focus on the Mariners and the Astros, the Blue Jays losing to the Yankees last night, and then we'll get into the other scores as well. And then we preview the games for tonight. So that's basically the rundown for the show. But yeah, that's just trying new things. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the week, and and then the playoff matches will be decided. So with that, we are going to take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we are going to talk about the chaos in Atlanta from last night and the other National League scores as well. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about the National League scores, but first, more specifically, the chaos in Atlanta last night. So, obviously, I previewed this game yesterday, and this was in a very important game for the Cubs. The Cubs right now are clinging on to that final wild card spot. You know, you have right now the Marlins are right behind them. You have the Reds as well. But the Reds are right now, they're a game and a half back. Marlins are a half game back. So the Cubs, they got to keep winning. You know, they got to, and especially against the Braves, it's going to be tough. I did say that. But, you know, if you lose these games, you're going to find yourself on the outside looking in. Now, they had Justin Steele on the mound last night. And listen, it looked good through 5.5 innings. The Cubs were up 6-0. They were up 6-0. Justin Steele's final stat line was, well, it ended up being 5 1/3, 3 earned runs, 6 hits, 6 Ks. I gave up a home run as well. But yeah, it looked great for 5.5 innings. You know, Yan Gomes, top of the second, RBI single. Miles Mastrobuoni. Oh, God. That is... Again, I apologize for the pronunciations of some of these names. He singled, make it 2-0. Seiya Suzuki tripled. A 2-run triple, which made it 4-0 Cubs. Cody Bellinger singled, made it 5-0. And then Ian Happ singled to make it 6-0. So this is in the top of the sixth. So it looked great. It looked great for the Cubs. Because this was, again, an important game. You hit a good starting pitcher in Elder, who ended up only pitching 3 2/3, 5 earned runs, 7 hits, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. So yeah, it looked really good for the Cubs. But then things started to unravel for the Cubs, and so the Braves in the bottom of the sixth. Kevin Pillar hit his 9th home run of the season to make it 6-1. Matt Olson singled to make it 6-2. Marcell Ozuna doubled to make it 6-3. So the Braves put up a 3 spot in the bottom of the sixth. And then in the bottom of the seventh, Ronald Acuna hit a 2-run home run, his 41st of the season, to make it 6-5. And then in the bottom of the eighth. So I want to go more. I don't want to just talk about the scoring. So we'll go to the well, not the scoring summary, but we want to go to the entire summary, if I can do that. That's where everything kind of changed. And so we get to the bottom of the eighth. So Matt Olson walked. Marcell Ozuna struck out, so that was 1 out. Then there was a wild pitch. Oh, so Drew Smiley, he came into the game and he threw 2 wild pitches. So then he walked Orlando Arcia. Then Michael Harris, he strikes out. He steals second base. So now you got, both runners in scoring position. And then what ends up happening is Sean Murphy hits a ball out to right field, and Seiya Suzuki, it looks like he's going to catch it, and the Cubs are going to get out of the inning. There were 2 outs. And Michael Harris didn't steal. He struck out, but someone stole. There was a stolen base on that. I read the thing wrong there. So yeah, Michael Harris struck out, stolen base. So yeah, Seiya Suzuki looks like he's going to make the play. Cubs are going to get out of the inning, right? And he misplays the ball. He misses the ball. He didn't drop it. He missed the ball. And what ends up happening is 2 runs score, and the Braves end up taking the lead, winning 7-6. That ended up being the final score. And the Cubs lose a very tough game last night, a game in which they had a 6-0 lead going into the bottom of the sixth. And yeah, now right now they sit a half game up on the Marlins. And that's really tough. And they had their best starter on the mound, and he was pitching well, but then he kind of, labored towards the end. And, it's not good. I mean, I guess the good thing is the Marlins ended up not playing yesterday because the game against the Mets, it got postponed. But yeah, not good. Not good for the Cubs. And that's a really tough way to lose. And Seiya Suzuki is a good player, and he's had a good season for the Cubs. But in that moment, that was bad timing there. And yeah, he's had a very good season. 284 batting average, 20 home runs, 72 RBIs, 842 OPS. He's had a really good season. But in that moment, he didn't make the play. So the Braves, they ended up picking up their 101st win on the season, improving to 101-56. Cubs dropped to 82-75. And it's not good. It's not good, and they still got 2 more games against the Braves. But getting this game would have been so important because at least you're able to get the first game, and you could at least tack on, half a game of the Marlins, especially because they didn't play yesterday. But yeah, it's not going to get easier. Tonight you got Jameson Taillon on the mound against the Braves, and Taillon hasn't been great. So, yeah, it's not looking good right now for the Cubs, but we'll have to wait and see what happens tonight. But, yeah, that was a huge loss for them. The Diamondbacks, so we'll get into some of the other scores. They won 15-4 over the White Sox. So the White Sox actually were up 4-1 after 2 innings. And then the Diamondbacks, they put up 2 runs in the third. They put up 6 in the fifth, 2 in the sixth, 1 in the eighth, and 3 in the ninth. Christian Walker had 3 hits, 6 RBIs. Gurriel Jr., I almost said Lourdes Gurriel, he had 3 hits. He went 3 for 5. Kentel Marte, he had 2 hits. Perdomo had 2 hits and 2 RBIs. But yeah, that's a big win for the Diamondbacks because they lost 2 out of 3 to the Yankees. They need to get back on the right track there. So that was a huge win for them. Obviously, I touched upon this before. The Brewers, because of the loss that the Cubs sustained, the Cubs are officially eliminated from the NL Central. So because of that, the Brewers ended up clinching, even though they did lose 4-1 last night to the Cardinals. But they got the division. And, now it's really all down to the wild cards and what's going to happen there. So, And then, kind of a less important game. Padres, they defeated the Giants 4-0. And now both teams, it's just one more game, and they will be officially eliminated. So, if the Cubs do win tonight, both teams will be eliminated. Both teams are 4.5 games out. But, yeah, at this point, they're pretty much out of it. So, no chaos there. I was talking about chaos when it came to the Padres, but it's not going to happen. The Reds, they defeated the Guardians 11-7 yesterday. It didn't look good. It was 3-0 in the after the bottom of the second. Reds put up a 4 spot in the top of the third. A lot of scoring in this game. So, Josh Naylor's brother, Bo Naylor, he hit a 3-run home run. Luke Maile hit a solo home run in the top of the third. Spencer Steer tripled to make it 3-2 Guardians. Then Christian Encarnacion Strand, he homered to make it 4-3. Then Cole Calhoun homered to make it 5-4. Andres Jimenez, he homered to make it 6-4 Guardians. Then Ellie De La Cruz homered to make it 6-5. Josh Naylor singled 7-5. De La Cruz singled again. It was 7-6 Guardians at that point. Luke Maile hit a 2-run single to make it 8-7. TJ Friedley, right? Fried homered to make it 9-7. Again, pronunciations, apologize. Ellie De La Cruz had a good game. Another home run to make it 11-7. And yeah, the Reds picked up a big win. That's a big win, and especially with the Cubs' loss, that was huge. So Reds pick up the win there. Dodgers, they split the doubleheader yesterday with the Rockies. They lost the first game 4-1. They won the second game 11-2. Phillies, they won 3-2 over the Pirates. And like I said, they clinched a playoff spot. And they're most likely going to have the top wild card spot, when it's all said and done. So, yeah, but that's pretty much it with the scores from yesterday. So then we're going to get into the next segment, and we're going to talk about the American League and the games involving that. So, yeah, it's the Cubs game though. I mean, you look at the score and you're just like, okay, the Cubs look like they got this, but then everything just unraveled. But that's why the Braves are the Braves. That's why they have the best record in baseball. That's why they've been the best team by far this year. I mean, obviously if Suzuki makes that play, we might be having a different conversation. But then again, the Braves, they could have batted in the ninth inning, and they could have came back, but that that didn't happen, and the Cubs lose a very tough game, and you still got two more games against the Braves, and then you got the Brewers. Now the Brewers aren't the Brewers clinched the division, but you would think, do they want to see the Cubs make it, or do they want to knock them out? I don't know. Yeah, so at the moment, the Cubs still hold on to that third wild card spot. But again, it's just crazy how I just looked at them and I said, a week and a half ago, and I said, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, and I said, yeah, they pretty much got the second wild card spot. I really just did not see them collapsing, and all of a sudden, that's been the case. I mean, they didn't play well against the Pirates. I mean, you go and sweep the Rockies, which you're supposed to do that. And now, last night happens. And that could definitely be a gut punch. It's really going to be all about how they respond. That's really what it's going to come down to. How are they going to respond from this? So, we're just going to have to wait and see. We'll see what happens tonight. You got Tyone on the mound, but it's a bad matchup for him. But we'll see. I mean, Tyone pitched in a playoff game last year for the Yankees, so maybe, and he actually didn't do that bad. So maybe in Houston, so maybe he goes out there and pitches good tonight, gives the Cubs a good chance to win, and they could at least win tonight. They have to win tonight, but I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, and the schedule towards the end of the year really was not favorable for them. But then again, it's like we didn't expect the Cubs to be in this position. I don't think nobody really expected the Cubs to be, in playoff contention. And yeah, they put together, a really good stretch of games, and they were like 11 games over. But now it's they're in a bad spot. After I really thought they were going to get that second wild card was going to be wrapped up, but it was really just going to come down to the third one. But yeah, but they the good thing is they still have their playoff spot. They still are in control of their own destiny. They just need to win games. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens tonight. So with that, we are going to take our second break of the show, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about Seattle's big win from yesterday and the other American League scores as well, and talk about the playoff implications regarding that. So that will be the third part of the show, and then obviously we'll preview the games to close out the show for today. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about Seattle's big win over the Astros last night, 6-2. I wrote in the description it was 5-1, but that was the score from the other night, so I'll have to change that once we wrap up here. But yeah, that's because I think it was 5-1 at one point, but then the Mariners, they tacked on a run in the bottom of the eighth. Astros got a run in the ninth, so it ended up being 6-2. So it was 5-1 for most of the game, but yeah, there were two more runs that were scored after that. So just a minor fix. We'll have to fix that. So, but yeah, Seattle, they got a huge win against the Astros. They get themselves back to their winning ways after a rough stretch for them, getting swept by the Rangers, and obviously losing the first game against the Astros on Monday. So right now they're a half game back for that third wild card spot, and yeah, the Astros are 3-7 in their last 10 games. And going into the game last night, I did talk about how Christian Javier hasn't been pitching well as of late. And he ended up getting the loss, and his record dropped to 9-5 with a 4.67 ERA. George Kirby ended up picking up the win, and he pitched very well. So we'll go through the box score. Javier pitched 4 2/3, 3 earned runs, 3 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. And then for George Kirby, he went 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. So he pitched very well. He picked up his 12th win on the season. And for the scoring summary, Josh Rojas, there was a throwing error that led to a run being scored. Julio Rodriguez had a sac fly to make it 2-0. Raleigh singled to make it 4-0. So that was a two-run single. Teoscar Hernandez singled to make it 5-0. And then the Astros, they got their first run in the top of the 7th. John Singleton, he hit a sacrifice fly. It was 5-1, and then Ty France homered his 11th homer on the season to make it 6-1, and then Altuve hit a single in the 9th. And that was the final score. So, again, the question, are the Astros in trouble? Yeah, they are. I mean, they're going to be in trouble until they, if they definitely make the playoffs because, after this, again, they play the Diamondbacks who, they're still fighting for their playoff lives and trying to hold on to the second wild card spot in the National League. So that's going to be tough. I mean, and the Astros, both teams are going to finish. The Mariners and the Astros are both going to have less than 90 wins. I think the Astros are not going to. I don't think the Astros are winning out. So tonight is this is the rubber game now. So if Mariners win, Astros are on the outside looking in. So, this is an important game for both teams. And on top of that, you have the Rangers, who are in the driver's seat to win the division. Magic number is 3. They did lose last night to the Angels. So, that's something to keep an eye on. So, let's go to that score really quick. So, the Rangers lost 9-3 last night to the Angels. We'll go through the scoring summary there. So the Rangers were up 1-0. Brandon Drury hit a 3-run home run, his 24th home run on the season to make it 3-1 Angels. Eduardo Escobar, I forgot he was on the Angels. Escobar grounded out to make it 4-1. Run scored on that. Zach Neto, he had a sac fly, make it 5-1. A wild pitch led to the Angels getting another run to make it 6-1. Randall Grichuk scored on that. Escobar had another ground out that led to a run being scored to make it 7-1. Stefanik, he singled to make it 9-1. It was a 2-run single. And then Josh Smith homered in the top of the 9th, and that was the final score, 9-3. So yeah, Rangers again. Against an Angels team that's not basically, but is out of it. No Ohtani, no Trout. Yeah, it's that was not a loss they wanted to have to deal with. But again, they still, with both teams losing. Well, not both teams. With the Astros losing, it's down to 3 right now, the magic number. So Yeah, I mean, they're still in the driver's seat, and they are going to get it because right now the Astros. I mean, yeah, Verlander pitched very well, but they got swept by the Royals. They lost last night. Offense really didn't do anything. So yeah, it's not looking good right now for the defending champs. And I mean, they missed the playoffs. That's going to be a huge disappointment for them and their fan base. So, also a quick note on the Angels. So they were talking to Mike Trout, because obviously he's not playing for the rest of the year. And just listening to the interview, he was very emotional about it. Dealing with injury. How he's been dealing with injuries lately. It's just it's really sad because again, that's another player I've grown up watching. Was the best player in baseball, and when he's healthy, he still is. It's just, I mean, it really stinks because he was healthy for a long time, and then all of a sudden injuries have just kind of, have hurt his seasons as of late. So, I'm hoping that, he can come back and hopefully, first I want him to go to a different team, and hopefully he could stay healthy. But once injuries start happening constantly, it's they're hard to shake off, and they just continue to linger for the rest of playing career. I mean, we've seen that countless times with many players in sports. So, yeah. So hopefully for Trout, he's able to battle through this, come back next year, and be able to play to the best of his ability and stay on the field. So, but yeah, that's just it's one thing that just really just stinks is seeing him like that, being emotional about it. So, but yeah, that's just something I forgot to mention. So the Twins, they won 11-3 over the A's. I mean, they already got the division, but again, so right now the Twins are 84-73. The Rangers are 88-69. Yeah, they got the third seed, but you never know. The Rays, they picked up a win against the Red Sox. I said it could be a tough game. You never know. They were up 7-0, and then the Red Sox, they put up 3 runs in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, and wow, my dog just slammed against my door there. That scared me. So they were up 7-6, but then they got 2 more runs in the top of the 8th. And then the Red Sox, they got 1 in the bottom of the 8th. So the final score ended up being 9-7. But yeah, it was very close. But that's what I mean, though. Like that's still going to be a tough series for the Rays. The Red Sox, they got a good lineup. But that was a big win for the Rays. The Orioles did win 1-0. So right now the magic number in the American League East is 3. So the Orioles I think are going to win the division, barring a collapse again, like I keep saying with a lot of these teams, because you just never know. So, but the last important score that I want to get into is the Yankees and the Blue Jays. So yesterday, I watched the game. Obviously the Blue Jays they have the second wild card spot, and I think they're going to end up with that. They ended up losing 2-0 to the Yankees, who, by the way, sat Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge was not in the lineup yesterday. So, the Yankees got the 2 runs. It was in the 9th inning, I believe. Yeah, it was in the 9th inning. 2-run home run off of Romano, their closer. Austin Wells hit that. And the Yankees ended up winning 2-0. Clay Holmes picked up his 23rd save on the season. And yeah, that was a big loss for the Blue Jays. And this is what and I've mentioned this before with the Blue Jays. In big moments, they just they falter. And yesterday was a prime example of that. You're playing against the Yankees, who have nothing to play for right now. And Aaron Judge is not in the lineup. And you end up losing the game. 2-0. You didn't get any runs. Michael King pitched very well for the Yankees. And the Blue Jays got very good pitching too as well. But, I mean, what are the Blue Jays doing? like, how do you lose this game? So yeah, we'll look at the box score very quickly. So Michael King, he went 6 innings, 1 hit, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts. The last time he faced the Blue Jays, I mean, he had 13 strikeouts. Johnny Brito's actually been very good in relief. 2 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. He's got a 4.33 ERA on the season. Clay Holmes, like I said, his 23rd save. But yeah, the Blue Jays got good pitching. Gosman, 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. And Romano got the loss. Yeah, I mean, and you got all your guys back. Guerrero was playing. I mean, the strike zone. He was very upset about the strike zone because his 2 strikeouts were on pitches that the whole crowd was booing at. But yeah, I mean, they had their whole lineup was basically healthy. They got pretty much everybody back. It's just they just couldn't get anything done yesterday. So I mean, there's still a game and a half up on the Astros. So, but the thing is now tonight you have Garrett Cole, and it just they could lose that game. That's why yesterday it's important to get that because Garrett Cole's gonna win the Cy Young, and it's gonna be hard to get runs against him. So, I don't know. The Blue Jays, I don't know. I really don't understand the Blue Jays. I just don't get it. But this is what they do, though. This is what they do. And, now you're going up against the Cy Young. And, yeah, it's going to be a tough game. You got Barrios on the mound. But maybe they come back and win tonight. You never know. I'm looking forward to Garrett Cole's start because, this could be this is his last start of the season. And obviously you want him to go out on a high note. And, he's going to win the Cy Young. It's just, again, unfortunate that it comes in a year where the Yankees weren't very good. But he was one of the few bright spots when it came to, the Yankee season. And, I appreciate that he was able to take the ball every fifth day and just go out there and pitch. With everything going on with the Yankees, it just, But yeah, that's pretty much it with this segment. Obviously, again, big loss for the Blue Jays. And, for them, hopefully they get back on the right, well, for their fans' sake. I mean, obviously the Yankees have been playing spoiler as of late, taking 2 out of 3 from the Diamondbacks and now taking the first game against the Rays with Garrett Cole on the mound tonight. So, yeah, so we're just going to have to wait and see what happens tonight, and that will lead us into the final segment of the show when we come back from our final break, which is previewing the games for tonight on both the National League side of things and the American League side of things. But again, I just want to remind you guys to get your comments recognized and to donate for donations and tips. Make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps out the show. And then also for bonus coverage materials that are not covered in this live show, go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network. So, yeah, we're going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, I will preview the games for tonight. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. I just had to run out really quickly. But yeah, so that's the Patreon graphic, obviously. Um, so yeah, sorry, I just had to run out very quickly. But I am back, and now we're gonna preview the games for tonight. So obviously, I just talked about the Blue Jays and the Yankees. Blue Jays trying to get back to on the right track. They got Barrios on the mound going up against Garrett Cole, and it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. And I guess the good thing is you got the Mariners and the Astros playing against each other. I guess, for the Blue Jays' sake, you kind of want the Mariners to win tonight in case you lose, just because then no one really gains any ground on you, with the Astros right behind them. So, that's an important game for the this is an important game for the Blue Jays, and they need to win this game. But again, you're going up against Garrett Cole, who is the favorite to win the Cy Young. So it's going to be tough, and especially now Aaron Judge is going to be in the lineup tonight. You figure so. We're just gonna have to wait and see. So and then we're kind of just gonna go down the list with what I have on MLB pulled up. So we got Fought. So it's actually Fought for the Diamondbacks. So he'll be going for the Diamondbacks tonight against Patino. So Diamondbacks, against the White Sox, who aren't good this year. They need to keep winning, so they maintain that second wild card spot. So we'll just have to see how that goes. The Mets and the Marlins, they have a doubleheader. First game is 4:10 Eastern time, and then game 2 will be like a half hour, 45 minutes after. I think that's how that works. Marlins, I mean, they win these 2 games and the Cubs lose tonight. The Marlins are going to be in sole possession of that third wild card. So that's going to be that's a big doubleheader for them. You got the Reds and the Guardians continuing their series. Reds still in it. They're only right now, again, they're a game and a half back. So Cubs lose, they win. That's big. But then again, the Marlins, it all depends on how the Marlins do as well. The Rays and the Red Sox, you got Glasnow against Bello. Again, it's going to be tough for the Rays, but they were able to pull it out last night. And you hope Glasnow has a bounce back start. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. The Orioles continue their series with the Nationals. You got Patrick Corbin on the mound against Grayson Rodriguez. Again, 3 is the magic number for the Orioles. So if they just keep winning, they're gonna get it. The Rays, hopefully, for their sake, they're hoping that the Orioles are, lose tonight and they can get a win. But it's going to be tough because, Patrick Corbin has not been good for the Nationals this year. Tigers and the Royals, they're playing again tonight. Like I talked about with Miguel Cabrera, you're hoping he can have, a home run, give the Tiger fans one last thing to cheer about. So that's that game. Phillies, they clinched their playoff spot. Obviously, there's still like not a great chance for, the Diamondbacks to catch them for the top spot. So they still have something to play for in terms of, playoff positioning. So, but the Phillies pretty much have that top wild card spot. Obviously, one of the big games to keep an eye on is Tyone going for the Cubs and Vines. I think, again, pronunciation, I apologize. For the Braves, Cubs need to really win tonight. Got to keep that third wild card spot. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. Twins continue their series with the A's. And then you got Wade Miley going for the Brewers tonight against Thompson. The Brewers, again, they clinched the Central. So they pretty much got their playoff positioning set. So, we'll see. I mean, they'll probably keep playing. Obviously their guys are going to keep playing, but they might, rest some guys here and there, keep them fresh for the postseason. Dodgers continue their series with the Rockies. The Braves pretty much, there's still a slight chance, but Braves pretty much got home field wrapped up. But the Dodgers, they could still get 100 wins, and I figure they will do that. So, and then you got Dunning tonight for the Rangers going up against Canning for the Angels. Rangers just, win tonight. Again, you knock off another game and, get closer to clinching the division. And then another big game for tonight, obviously, the Astros. They got Valdez on the mound going up against Bryce Miller for the Mariners. So that series, and of course the Cubs and the Braves, those are the games to keep a close eye on. And then the Padres and the Giants, they continue their series. So yeah, those are all the games right there. Listen, the Mariners-Astros series is very important, and if the Mariners can get the win tonight, that would be huge. Because now the Astros would be on the outside looking in. And yeah, the Astros are in trouble. I keep saying it. They really are in trouble. Obviously, the Verlander start the other night was huge. And, now last night with Christian Javier, it was going to be tough because he hasn't pitched well as of late. And the Astros offense couldn't get anything going against George Kirby. So, yeah, it's we're just gonna have to. This is the rubber match. This is the rubber game right here. So whoever takes this series, is going to have that third wild card spot. If the Mariners win, they're gonna have it. Astros, they gain a full game up on the Mariners, and then the Rangers. They should. This division's gonna be wrapped up. It should be. I think the Rangers, they are, I think that's who's going to end up winning. Who's going to end up winning the division is the Rangers. So, and they're playing against the Angels, so I expect them to win tonight, especially after losing yesterday. But, we're just going to have to wait and see, as I always say. The Blue Jays, I just was shaking my head last night just at the Blue Jays because that's a game that they should have won. They should have. No Aaron Judge. When I saw no Aaron Judge in the lineup yesterday, I was like, yeah, the Blue Jays should win this game. And they couldn't do anything against Yankee pitching. Did nothing against Michael King, did nothing against Johnny Brito, and they couldn't get any. They did get a base runner on against against Clay Holmes, but and they did have some opportunities. They did have some opportunities because the bases were loaded at one point, and Michael King was able to get out of it. I think he struck out Vladimir Guerrero. But that might have been to get like the second out of the inning, and then they got somebody to pop out. I think that's what happened. Actually, let me take a quick look at the game from yesterday. But yeah, the Blue Jays did have their chances, but they just, they got nothing going. They didn't score anything. They didn't score any runs yesterday. So yeah, it was. Let's see, what inning was it? It was okay. So Kirk singled. So it was in the bottom of the third. So Alejandro Kirk singled. Springer walked. Bo Bichette walked, and then Guerrero struck out. Okay, so that's what happened. Okay. Yeah. Listen, the Blue Jays, they might still, they're still going to make it, I think. But, against the Yankees, that's the other thing, too. There was no Aaron Judge. No Aaron Judge, who's our best run producer, our best player, one of the best players in baseball. And you couldn't score any runs. Austin Wells hit a 2-run home run off of Jordan Romano. And that was the difference in the game. That was in the 9th inning. Now you got Garrett Cole on the mound. And you could lose that game. But again, it might not really affect you because you have the Mariners and the Astros, the teams behind you, playing each other right now. And it doesn't get easier. You're playing the Rays to finish the season. I mean, if the Blue Jays or the Astros, if one of them ends up, I mean, it's possible that at least one of them is going to miss the playoffs. Whoever it is, it's just going to be. I mean, more so for. I mean, well, the Astros. I mean, that's going to be disappointing. The Blue Jays, it's going to be just the same thing, different year. I mean, because. 2021, you fell short. 2022, Mariners, they beat you. They came back and beat you in a big way to eliminate you. And this year, I mean, you got a playoff spot, and now all of a sudden, what if the Yankees win tonight? I mean, again, it all depends on what happens in the Astros Mariners game. But it's just what are you doing? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But, I mean, I just couldn't help but say, I mean, I'm going to be talking about this on the show tomorrow. But this is just, I mean, how do you lose this game? You don't get any runs. And they have really good players. They have a very good team. It's just in big games, they shrink. Last night's a prime example of that. You're playing against a team that's not going anywhere. And last year, around this time last year, this team clinched the division in your house. Because if you remember, Vladimir Guerrero had a single. Walk-off single. And, the Yankees had to wait another day to clinch the division, but, he infamously was like, yeah, this is my house. And then the next day, the Yankees won the division. And I love what Michael Kay said after the game where he was like, yeah, it was nice of Vladimir Guerrero to let the Yankees celebrate them clinching the division in his house. But again, what a difference a year makes. I mean, it went from winning the division in Toronto to maybe playing spoiler against Toronto, I guess. Yeah, that's great. Playing spoiler. We'll see what happens tonight. But with Garrett Cole, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because, I mean, he pitched very well against the Blue Jays Thursday. So, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But, yeah, Yankees are playing spoiler right now. Taking 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks. They took the first game against the Blue Jays, and now they got Garrett Cole tonight. So, just want the season to end. I need this team to just take a break. But, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, the 2 biggest games to focus on tonight is Cubs-Braves, Astros-Mariners. Are the Cubs going to be able to bounce back? As a Cubs fan, you hope so. I mean, that's a very tough loss. Anytime a team blows a lead like that, it's just, I mean, we saw it the other night with the Reds. I mean, they blew a 9-0 lead against the Pirates. It's it's tough, but it is what it is, and for those teams, you hope they bounce back. If you're a fan of those respective teams, whether it's the Cubs, the Blue Jays, or the Astros for that matter. So with that, that's pretty much it for today's show. I thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And shortly after this, I will be recording the Patreon content show for the day. So that's all the time that we got. I thank you for watching. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. Leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the video. And that's pretty much it. So I'm signing off. Kenneth Gruenfelder from the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.